It's 8:46 a.m. on the 12th of November 2025. In the calm waters near Scarborough Shoal, the U.S. Navy destroyer USS Higgins suddenly detects multiple fast-approaching contacts. Alarms echo through the steel hull. Sailors sprint to battle stations as the radar screen fills with movement. Outside, the morning haze splits open two Chinese warships, a Type 52D destroyer and a Type 54 Amperes frigate, closing in fast. The radio crackles. Unidentified vessels. This is the People's Liberation Navy. You are entering Chinese territory. Leave immediately. The Higgins keeps her course. The sea falls silent, except for the deep hum of engines and the tension thick enough to feel through the deck. One wrong move here could set the entire South China Sea on fire. The bridge dims to red light. The captain speaks low and steady. Maintain speed. Steady on course 180. CIC tightens comms. Recorders rolling for every word. Deck crews secure lines. CIWS spins in standby. No weapons pointed. No fire control radar, just presence. Aegis tracks, cameras roll, and the world watches. In the waters around Scarborough Shoal, every ship passing through matters. These lanes feed factories, keep stores stocked, and carry the daily flow that keeps life running across the Pacific. That's why the USS Higgins is here conducting a lawful transit to prove that no nation gets to close off the sea. To Washington, this is routine freedom of navigation. To Beijing, it is a direct challenge to sweeping claims they want everyone else to quietly accept. For the crew, the stakes feel personal. A few miles of ocean can decide whether allies still trust the US to keep routes open when pressure rises. If Washington hesitates, insurance spikes, cargo diverts, and smaller nations near the shoal lose faith that anyone will stand up for them. That's exactly why the Higgins holds her course. To show that free passage isn't an empty slogan, but a promise backed by steel, training, and the risk of being the ship on the front line when things go wrong. On the Chinese side, the two warships shadowing her try to flip the story. Their captains broadcast firm warnings. Cameras rolling, waiting for the slightest change in speed or heading to declare a successful expulsion on state TV. Both sides know the world will analyze every second from tone of voice on the radio to the exact distance between gray hulls in the hazy morning light. As the gap narrows, tension climbs. The next minutes aren't about missiles, but about willpower and narrative. One side says they're defending historic rights. The other says they're defending the law of the sea. You can almost feel the argument hanging over the waves. Whose version of this water do you believe? If you've got an answer, tap 1 or 9 and say which side's claim you think carries more weight. Your view from home might match what the sailors feel on deck. 9:12 a.m. The radar picture tightens. The crew of the USS Higgins watches as the two Chinese warships adjust their headings, sliding closer in a slow, deliberate push. Neither side fires, but every motion feels like a test. Inside the Combat Information Center, Aegis paints steady tracks, marking each ship with precise updates. The operators call out ranges in calm practice voices, meant to keep nerves from spiking. The Chinese Type 52D destroyer moves ahead, cutting across the Higgins bow at a shallow angle close enough that the bridge crew can see deck crews on the other ship aiming cameras toward them. It's a maneuver meant to intimidate, to show they're willing to press the line. The Higgins holds steady, maintaining her speed and course to avoid giving any hint she's backing down. The captain reminds his team, "No sudden moves. We stay predictable. That's how we stay safe." 9:27 a.m. A new alert flashes. An airborne drone lifts off from the Chinese frigate. To the U.S. crew, it's surveillance. To the Chinese, it's evidence gathering. The Higgins electronic warfare team monitors the signal, confirming it's not guiding weapons. Still, everyone feels the tension rise. A single misinterpretation could escalate the entire encounter. Minutes later, the Chinese destroyer broadcasts again, this time sharper. U.S. vessel, you are violating Chinese law. Alter course now. The Higgins responds in calm Navy phrasing. We are conducting lawful navigation in accordance with international law. Each message is recorded, time-stamped, and archived because words could matter as much as actions if anything goes wrong. 10:01 a.m. The distance between hulls tightens to just a few thousand yards. The Higgins shifts slightly to create maneuvering room, a small correction, but one that keeps the risk of collision low. The deck watch teams stay alert, tracking the drone overhead and the ships abeam. The morning sun rises higher, cutting across the waves and lighting the three ships in stark contrast: steel against blue water, tension against routine. There are no missiles, no guns firing, but this is still combat in slow motion: posture, presence, and pressure. Every sailor knows the calm can break in an instant. 10:18 a.m. Tension rises again. The Chinese Type 54 Ampere's frigate edges closer, matching the Higgins speed with deliberate precision. Its bow wave begins to merge with the American destroyer's wake, a silent reminder that one wrong move could change everything. On the bridge, the navigation team calls out distances in calm tones. The captain orders a small starboard correction, just enough to maintain space without signaling retreat. Inside CIC, the drone overhead drops lower. Its camera pod turns toward the Higgins, scanning slowly. The electronic warfare team watches the signal spike, then settle. Still surveillance, a technician says, though nobody relaxes. In a standoff like this, even harmless signals feel like warnings. 10:32 a.m. The Type 52D destroyer makes another cut across the Higgins bow, closer than before. The vibration of its engines hums through the American hull. The Higgins responds with steady discipline. Minor throttle adjustment, stable heading, no sudden moves. Everything must look controlled, predictable, and professional. On the upper deck, lookouts notice Chinese sailors standing near their main gun. They're not manning it, just staying visible. It's a pressure tactic, a reminder that escalation is never far. The Higgins mirrors none of it. Her deck crews remain ready but avoid any movement that could be misread. 10:47 a.m. The drone climbs higher again, circling all three ships. Its transmission pattern shifts subtle, but enough to raise questions. Possibly relay mode, someone notes. The captain gives a quick nod, eyes fixed on the surface picture. The real risk isn't the drone. It's the shrinking room between hulks of steel moving through contested water. 11:03 a.m. A rolling swell lifts the ships unevenly. The Higgins adjusts course, and a second later the Chinese frigate corrects a bit too late, drifting close before easing away. On the bridge, the tension is sharp. No guns raised, no hostile commands, yet everyone feels how thin the margin for error has become. The sea stays calm. But down at the surface, every heading change, every wave and engine pulse feels like part of a slow, grinding contest, one where both sides test resolve without crossing the line they can't return from. 11:19 a.m. Just as the standoff settles into a tense rhythm, a new radar contact appears, small, fast, and skimming low across the water. It breaks from the Chinese frigate and heads straight toward the formation. Surface drone closing fast, the CIC watch officer reports. It's the first major change all morning, and the timing feels deliberate. Spray trails behind a compact, unmanned craft cutting across the waves. No visible weapon, yet its intent is clear. Raise pressure. The Chinese ships are no longer just shadowing, they're testing reactions. The Higgins shifts posture immediately. Phalanx to full readiness. Track only. The captain orders. 11:24 a.m. The drone arcs across the Higgins bow in sharp, fast turns that force the destroyer to adjust spacing with the Chinese ships. One miscalculation could spark the collision everyone fears. The bridge alters course a few degrees to port, small, steady, unmistakably measured. The Chinese frigate broadcasts at once. U.S. vessel, you are altering course dangerously. The irony is obvious to the Higgins crew. The drone slips between the wakes of both Chinese ships, weaving like it's mapping the formation. 11:31 a.m. The drone suddenly slows and settles just ahead of the Higgins, bobbing lightly on the surface. Its camera tilts upward, staring directly at the destroyer. No attack. No aggressive move. Just a focused presence, precise, controlled, meant to signal that the rules of the encounter have shifted. The captain watches the feed, jaw set. They're changing the playbook, he says quietly. And the crew feels it too. The standoff is now unpredictable, layered, and far outside anything in the training manuals. 11:39 a.m. The standstill breaks. The surface drone sparks a chain reaction as the Chinese Type 52D shifts suddenly to starboard, cutting closer to the Higgins than at any point today. On the bridge, the officer of the deck snaps out the range. 800 yards, 750, closing. Every sailor feels the air tighten. The Higgins responds with a controlled turn, angling just enough to avoid a crossing situation while refusing to yield her course. The drone surges forward again, skimming the surface in a tight loop that forces the Higgins helm to make another correction. Alarms sound not combat alarms, but collision warnings shrill, sharp, and impossible to ignore. In CIC, Aegis tracks the drone, the destroyer, the frigate, and the Higgins all at once. 11:45 a.m. The Chinese frigate accelerates, overlapping the Higgins path. The captain's voice cuts through the noise. Engage CIWS tracking, do not fire. The Phalanx wakes fully, its barrel spinning, tracing the drone with a mechanical growl. Even without firing, the sound alone sends a message. The Higgins is done absorbing pressure. She is now asserting presence. The surface drone darts again too close, too fast. The CIWS auto-logic chirps as if preparing to fire. The command team overrides instantly. One wrong confirmation, one split-second misread, and this quiet standoff could turn into headlines the whole world never forgets. 11:52 a.m. A swell rolls under all three ships at once, lifting them unevenly. The Chinese destroyer veers a moment off balance. The Higgins takes the opening, sliding a few degrees to regain spacing. The move is subtle but decisive, a reminder that professionalism, not provocation, rules her bridge. For a moment, even the drone hesitates, hovering still as if the tension has nowhere left to go. Then, slowly, the Chinese ships begin to ease off barely, but noticeably. The drone retracts its arc and drifts back toward the frigate. No announcement, no grand gesture. Just a quiet release of pressure, like a fist unclenching. The crew exhales as the horizon widens again. And in that breath, the unspoken question returns. Who held firm when it mattered most? If you've got an answer, tap 1 or 9. Your read on this moment says as much as theirs from the bridge. 12:07 p.m. With distance widening and the drone recovered, the tension finally begins to fade. The USS Higgins resumes her steady southbound track, engines humming in a calm rhythm that feels almost unreal after the last intense hours. On the bridge, sailors exchange tired glances, quiet relief, but also the awareness that nothing about this encounter was routine. Not today. In CIC, the crew reviews the recorded tracks. Each maneuver, each broadcast, each moment of near collision is logged for analysts who will try to understand what exactly China intended. Was it a probe, a message, a rehearsal, or simply a reminder that the South China Sea will not return to calm anytime soon? No one here has the answer yet, but everyone feels the shift. To the public, this may look like just another close call, but for the people aboard the Higgins, it's something deeper. Today, professionalism prevented escalation. A few degrees of rudder, a few seconds of restraint, and a crew that trusted its training. Those were the thin lines that kept a geopolitical rivalry from becoming an international incident. China will claim they forced the U.S. ship away. The U.S. will say the Higgins completed her mission exactly as planned. Both narratives will echo across news cycles, each side trying to frame the moment as proof of resolve. Yet the ocean tells a simpler truth. 3 ships, inches from crisis, chose control over chaos. And that choice carries weight. Allies watching from Manila, Tokyo, and Canberra will study this encounter closely. So will strategists in Beijing and Washington. Every move today becomes part of a larger story, one shaping how the next encounter will unfold, and how far each side is willing to go to defend its version of the sea. As the Higgins pushes onward, the question lingers in the air, unresolved and powerful. Whose message landed harder today, the warning or the restraint? If you've got a take, tap 1 or 9 and let your voice join the discussion. The crew made their call out there. Now it's your turn.